It Takes Two. Is it best on the Nintendo Switch, or should you get it on something else like the PS5 or the #1 Nintendo Switch competitor, Valve's Steam Deck? This game feels like it was made for the Switch, with the required co-op multiplayer and action-adventure play. So in this video, we'll find out why you should or shouldn't get this game on the Switch. And stick around at the end if you want to know how you can get this game for cheap. It Takes Two is an action-adventure platformer where you play as a couple named May and Cody, who are parents to a daughter named Rose. Together they tell Rose they are splitting up, which obviously makes Rose sad. And then Rose cries on some dolls, and guess what? Then you become the dolls. That's the story. Throughout the game, you'll be playing as these two dolls, going through a bunch of different scenarios, like in a garage, fighting a massive toolbox boss, and many more. Trust me. When you're in these scenarios, you and your partner will have certain objectives that have been designed to blend nicely with having two players. There are some insanely creative and crazy multiplayer puzzles that will make both of the players take a few moments to figure out. But once you figure it out, it's satisfying to pull off these tasks. And this is what makes the game incredibly fun and rewarding. But when you choose who you're playing this with, make sure that they'll have fun with this game too, because the game is only as fun as the person you play it with. In fact, the person you're playing with might make it more fun than the game is actually intended to be. Something else is that this game has some great reputation. In fact, it won the Game of the Year award for 2021. But now let's go over what makes the Switch version different. First, let's go over the graphics. I remember playing this game for the first time last year with my brother on the PS5 and being absolutely blown away with how incredible the graphics looked, from the smooth and locked frame rate with the resolution cranked up to 4K with crisp textures and shadows. But booting it up a year later on a less powerful console was a far different experience. The Nintendo Switch version's frame rate was cut in half from 60 frames per second on the PS5 to 30 on the Switch. And honestly, that's okay, but having this type of platformer running twice the frame rate on other consoles is very noticeable and important to a game that is testing your reflexes and relies on you and your partner's in-sync timing. But really, after playing it for a while, you slowly adapt to the reduced frame rate. It does chug every once in a while, but it's nothing game-breaking. Now the resolution. That's taken quite a hit, but what you might notice most is the loss of textures, shading on the character models, ambient lighting through the stage, and some in-game elements. And although I did notice this from comparing the games side by side, you most likely wouldn't realize this, especially if it's your first time through. But there's a few more noticeable things, and it's mainly in the cutscenes. Like how when changing a scene, it looks like the lighting is flickering or glitching, almost like the lighting overlay is delayed. And also in the cutscenes, there's some noticeable pop-in. There is a bit in the gameplay, but it's nothing really noticeable. Now looking at the version on the Steam Deck, the graphical differences are quite apparent. The Steam Deck can be put at high settings at 720p for a somewhat smooth 60 frames per second, with a few dips here and there. And with the Steam Deck version, you can also dock it and pair it with Bluetooth controllers if you decide to do split screen. But with the Steam Deck, you'll most likely be playing it online, which it's totally capable of. But the Steam Deck lacks a few things that the Switch has, like how you need to play with an internet connection if you're not playing the game on the same deck, because there's no wireless local play. Whereas with the Switch, if you and your friend don't have an internet connection, you'll still be able to play. And of course, docking the Steam Deck, while it's possible, it's a little more of a hassle than the Switch. But now that we went over that, let's talk about multiplayer, because that's literally the game. You cannot play this game without a companion, whether it's online, local play handheld, or couch co-op. And yes, you can play it undocked in split screen, although it is kind of difficult to see what's going on with the smaller display. It looks sharper on the Switch's screen than blown out on the TV. And I'm impressed to see that this game can even play with two people in handheld mode. And speaking of handheld mode, if you have a Switch Lite and you want this game, then you're in luck, assuming your friend has a Switch, or both of you don't mind sitting around the Switch with separate controllers. One thing to note is that the box isn't really clear that you can't play with split Joy-Cons. You'll need another pair or a Pro controller. What makes the Switch version a little more convenient is the fact that if you have multiple docks, you can just dock and play. So if your friend has a dock at their place, you can just put it in their dock and you're good to go. And that's not really possible with something like the PS5, a massive console. But is this game worth the $40 asking price? Well, right now, I wouldn't say so, but only for one reason, because of EA's online gaming subscription. And yeah, once we go over these prices, it's almost like EA doesn't want you to buy this game on the Switch at all. So what is this online service? It's called EA Play, and this monthly paid subscription gives you access to so many games like Need for Speed, Plants vs. Zombies, almost any EA game. And it's available on PS5, Steam, Xbox, pretty much every console except for the Switch. But you might be thinking, Why does that matter? Because if you wanted to, you could pay $5 or maybe like me, $2 for your first month, then beat the game within that month and cancel your subscription if you didn't want to keep it. Which means you can turn a $40 game into a $5 game just like that, and debatably having a better experience depending on what device you're playing it on. So with all that being said, is this game best on the Switch? Even after the convenience of the Nintendo Switch docking and local play on the same or different consoles, I'm giving this version to the PS5 or Xbox, because although it's great to have these features, the enhanced graphics and performance in this game on a more powerful console is unlike anything else, and having someone to play it right beside you enjoying it is a great bonding experience. In my opinion, it's best in one place on a stable console. And like I said, the PlayStation version is amazing, and it looks phenomenal. But of course, this all depends on your playstyles. Maybe you only have a Switch, so obviously this would be the version to get. But let me know, are you gonna get the Nintendo Switch version of It Takes Two, or are you gonna get it on something else? So if you like this video, make sure you check out another video, and if you really liked it, please consider subscribing. I hope to see you in the next one. See you later.